Welcome to Beading with Machi Wapakwinyum. I'm your host, Lydia Sturby. Hi there. So today we're going to be making this daisy keychain on some cowhide. So in your kit you would have received the piece of leather already marked and cut out, all the beads you need, the key ring, a needle on some felt, the white bobbin of thread, and a little heart of beeswax that my kiddos helped me make. And so this is if your thread starts to fray, you're going to rub it across the beeswax to keep it together. Okay, so you're going to start by pulling your needle off of your felt, and you're going to get a piece of the thread. I usually go from my fingertips and stretch that out all the way to the opposite shoulder, and you're going to thread your needle, and then we're going to make a knot in it. So the best way to do that is if you crisscross or put your string parallel with your needle and then wrap it around 5 times. Slide that all the way down. This method was taught to me by Janine Krejci, who is an Indigenous artist or Métis artist right here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Okay, next you're gonna put on your ring. Guess we could do that later, but it's done. Pick which side is going to be your front, and you're going to just bring your needle up where you're going to place your first flower. Extra pot in my string right now. Okay, so the center of my daisy is yellow, and I'm going to bring my needle back down right beside where I came through. If you're having a hard time with the weather, have a pair of pliers handy. And so what we want is this standing up like a tire. Now to keep it up, we're actually going to poke back through the leather, and we're going to create the white of the daisy. So I'm going to grab 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the white. And we want to kind of make this circle around our center. And what I'm going to do, so I've gone around counterclockwise, I'm actually going to go back through the holes of my first 2 beads that I put on. So I've got this loop. I'm going to put my thumb on my center, and as I pull my string tight, you'll find where the natural end is of your circle. Now if I was to just leave it, I'd have this floppy petals for my flowers. So what I'm actually going to do is I went back down over here. I'm going to skip 2 beads and kind of come up between 2 beads on one side, so whether it's out or the inside, and I'm going to go down on the opposite of those beads. So I came up on the outside of my flower, and I'm going down on the inside next to the center of my daisy. And what that's going to do is it's going to tack down the string that is going between the beads, so then I won't have a floppy flower. I'm going to do it again on the other side of my flower so that I'm getting all the edges, and then now my flower won't be able to shimmy so much. So that's my first daisy. So you decide how many and where you want to place them. Again, if I show you this picture, we're just putting the green stems kind of underneath, so it's your choice how many, and maybe you want to put a little dot with a pen or pencil to mark where you're going to put them before you start. That is your choice. I'm just going to speed up the video now while I pop in some daisies. Okay, so I've got my 7 flowers kind of spaced out. I could have put them closer together, but decided not to. Now you can just freehand the base if you want, or the flowers, stems, or you can kind of give yourself some sort of outline if you want to make stems go all the way up or around. You can kind of decide how you want them to look. So now that I've kind of put them in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick it up and just kind of measure out how many I might need and put them all on at once. So this guy, I got 5. I probably want like 3 more. And that kind of covers the little line that I made. And I'm going to make sure they're all tight together and then come down at the end. Now, similar to our petals, if we don't tack this down, it's going to be quite loose. So now I'm going to come up on one side of my vine or stem in between 2 beads and go down on the opposite side between those 2 beads, and my string or thread will tack it down. And so if I want to kind of curve it, I just use my thumb to push the beads where I want them and then come up and down. And you're going to want to do that every 2 beads just to make sure that everything is nice and tight and it's not going to fall apart. Okay, so I'm happy with that one. I'm going to go and start filling in the rest of the other ones. Okay, so I finished my little flower garden and I'm quite happy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come under the back, pick up a little bit of the leather, and I'm going to go through my loop twice. And so when I pull, it's putting 2 knots at the base. I'm going to do that a second time. You could do that at any point if you felt like you needed to keep tension somewhere. But whenever I'm going to cut my string, I like to do it twice. Otherwise, for tension, once is more than enough. Okay, so now that I've cut my string, I still have a fair amount on here. I'm actually going to fold it in half. And I'm now going to double up on my string for the edge. This might not end up being enough to do the whole edge, and that's okay. So I'm going to do my multiple knots like we did before. And I'm going to kind of line up my keychain again. Now I want to hide the knot I just made, so I'm going to go between the layers and come out the back. And the reason I want my edging to be double threaded is because that's a high traffic area. We have a lot of hands touching it and pockets rubbing, so we want to make sure our string isn't going to break. Oops, one. So I'm going to start with one bead, and it's very important that I go back through the same side that I came out of. You're going to go through both layers this time. And we don't want that bead to stay behind, so we're going to go back through it and lift it up to the edge. Now we want to do a zipper stitch, so we're going to do 2 beads this time, a little bit to the right, and come back just through the second bead, and that's going to force the first of those 2 to stand up like a tire, and the rest will be donuts. So 2 beads on. Now it doesn't matter if you go back to front or front to back here, as long as you go through both layers. I've got a nice little knot in here somewhere. Okay. And then back through the farthest right bead. And I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, right about halfway through, I'm now running out of thread, and I need to leave at least more than the length of my needle to be able to fix it or cut it off. So I'm going to go back through the tire and the donut previously and try to get my needle to come out between the layers. I'm just going to do this. Okay. Now, just as I tied it off before, I'm going to grab a little bit of the leather. Don't go all the way through, just grab a little bit. You don't want that to show through. Okay. Then I'm going to go through my loop twice. Oh. Go through that. Okay, now I can cut that and get myself another piece of thread. And now I want to come through my layers and just out the last donut. Make sure all my tails are tucked. And I can keep going. So I'm going to put on my 2 brown beads, poke through. And come out. Okay, I'm going to speed it up till I get all the way around. Okay, so this should be my last piece. And I'll just come back up through the last one. Okay, so to make that kind of stay where I want it, I've moved to the back. I'm going to push through from the middle to the back. And I'm going to pick up a little bit. We're going to tie it off like we normally would on the inside. So 1, 2. Do that a second time. So I'm picking up very little of the leather when I'm doing this. Just enough to secure our knot. And I'll cut. And I've got a little bit of a string. Be careful not to burn your leather. And that is our daisy flower keychain. Marcy, miigwech for joining me today. I hope you had fun. Bye.